We are back. Thank you, Tom. We're talking to Ellen Burstyn and Jim Garner. My next guest is a young performer, a comedian who was a regular on the recent Mary Tyler Moore variety series. He appears regularly here in town at the Comedy Store, and will be hosting the Rose Bowl Parade for television on the 1st of January. Would you welcome, please, David Letterman. David?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. How many of you folks here have never been to a TV studio before? Applaud if you've never been to one of these things. Okay. How many of you have been here before? Applaud if you have been here before. Okay. All right, now how many of you who have never been here before today are here with somebody who has been here before? Applaud. Okay, now, listen carefully. This gets a little confusing at this point. How many of you out of that last group are in this country illegally? Could we just hear? Great, fine. Looking for yard work, I'll bet. Well, nice to have you here. I just got back into the United States. I was in Canada, and I flew back a couple of days ago. I flew one of those bargain flights, $99 one way, and literally no bargain. You know, it's hundreds of drooling indigents fighting over tubs of gruel in the aisle of the plane. And immigrants and people who haven't been vaccinated looking over bad fruit and stuff. So I get up and I go to the lavatory of the aircraft, and there's this enormous sign above the toilet that says, "Do not place metal or glass objects in the toilet." You know, that always ruins a trip for me. I like to go back there, wash a load of dishes in it, you know. Now, here's something you can do. If you get bored on a flight, like a 3 or 4 hour flight, here's something you can do to always amuse yourself. Wait till the person in the seat next to you falls asleep. It's a lot of fun. Then what you do, you reach over, get their attention, maybe get them around the throat, give them one of these. And then you say something like, "Well, I guess we're going to find out now if these seat cushions really do float, huh?" A lot of fun, and yes, the last come fast and furious. Anyway, I'm back in town, and my car is still not functioning properly, so I got to hitchhike and stuff. Took it in a week and a half ago for a minor tune-up, $35, and the guy says to me what they always say. He says, "Is there a telephone number where we can get a hold of you later today? You know, if we find anything else wrong with the car." Invariably, they find something else wrong with the car. Two days later, the guy calls up and he says, "Yeah, Mr. Letterman, listen, you know, we was resetting the buttons on your radio, and, yeah, your damn engine exploded. Tore it up pretty bad, killed one of our boys. Now, let's see, that'll be a little more than..." So anyway, what I got to do, for instance, I had to hitchhike over here this evening, and this guy stops and picks me up. He's driving an old beat-up Dodge with a bent frame. You know, they kind of go down the freeway at an angle like that. And the windshield on the right-hand side of the car is missing. It's just gone, busted out. And the back seat is on fire. Well, right away, I'm apprehensive about getting in, you know. The guy driving the car is wearing a cowboy hat and a hospital gown, see? So... And he's rolling, the thing that bothers me most of all about him, he's rolling the biggest joint I'd ever seen in my entire life. He was using Pampers, and... just awful. We sat at an intersection for a half an hour waiting for a stop sign to change, so... It was, Anyway, I came over here tonight, and we're watching the news a little bit, and I learned something just incredible. The most popular newspaper in the entire world now is one of those things you buy at the checkout counter of the grocery stores, you know? And the headlines in that thing today, just incredible. How to lose weight without diet or exercise. Pretty much leaves disease, doesn't it? You know, when you get right down to it. I was able to lose over 60 pounds without diet or exercise. What's my secret? Well, I was lucky enough to be seriously ill for a year and a half. It's pretty surprising to me that you learn anything on local news anymore because it's all oriented. You know, you don't have any hard news. And they're 2- and 3-hour newscasts, so they load it up with a lot of stuff you don't care about. And you hear things like, no more oxygen for planet Earth. Well, we'll get to that story a little later if we have time for it. But right now, Arlene has a fascinating feature report about your cat's #1 problem. Fur balls. Arlene? Thank you. How many times have you and the members of your family been scared silly because you heard your cat make this noise? Thank you, Arlene, for that fascinating in-depth study. First of a 12-part series here on Eyewitness News. I used to work for the Eyewitness News station back in Indiana where I lived, and thank you. Folks hoping to win a prize for that, I'll bet, huh? And the concept of Eyewitness News, you know, make it as funny as you possibly can. So one day there were 3 murders in the city, and the news director didn't think it would be real amusing to have the anchorman report all 3 of these murders back to back, so they gave one to the sportscaster to do, see? And the guy is reading baseball scores at the time. Well, first in the National League, it was the Mets over the Braves 3-2. Reds got past the Cards 5-4, and the Dodgers murdered the Giants 9-0. Speaking of murders... looks like 45-year-old Eddie Poster won't be going out to the old ballpark anymore. No, Eddie was gunned down last night during a liquor store holdup. Once again, that final score, liquor store 1, Eddie nothing.
Rolling a joint in Pampers? Yeah. I like that. Like that. We'll do this. We'll be right back. We're back. We're talking with David Letterman. You know, that's very funny stuff. That's new and it's fresh and everything. I saw you on Mary's variety show, and you're excellent at that. Have you done a lot of television?
No, I have, well, that was only on, like 3 weeks.
Right.
And so people don't recognize me much for that. I used to work at an adult bookstore. I get recognized a lot for that. But, I've done a couple of things. I was on a show 2 weeks ago, the Battle of the Network Stars, you know.
That's right.
That's a silly show. You know, to me, it's... I don't care, you know. So what if Debbie Boone can do more push-ups than I can? You know...
It's not one of your top priorities in life, I don't assume.
No. I've done some commercial work, or turn some down. You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
They called me up and they said, we got a product here. Well, you folks probably got it, like an electric bird bath, right? Everybody's got one? Yeah. Well, what they do, they heat up the water in the morning so your bird doesn't catch cold out there taking a bath. So I researched this thing, and I went down there, and the guy said that the thing worked perfectly, but they were getting a lot of complaints because people weren't reading instructions, and the birds were getting electrocuted. And he said they got over 500 letters of complaint from people who had their birds die on them, but out of all of those people that wrote in, not one of them ever took the trouble to put the little rubber safety boots on the bird before they put it into the water.
It's their fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should not, the company should not be held accountable for that. I know you're from Indiana. Did you work in local radio and television in the Midwest?
I did. I'm from Indiana, and I guess we got folks from South Bend here, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful there. What a town. Yeah, I used to work in... You know, the one thing I'll never... Well, this happens to everybody, that the kind of thing I'll always remember as long as I live, growing up in Indiana, is when Dad used to tease me with the power tools. How many of you... Did you have that? What a guy.
What a guy. Sense of humor.
Yeah. I'll never... Yeah, he... chase you around the house with a belt sander.
Yeah. Get your attention real quick. Yeah. Come from a funny family. I just asked Dave, you've been working at the Comedy Store, and I said, how's it going? You said, well, you'd rather be working other places for for real money.
Yeah, the Comedy Store is a great place to go. You get an audience and you work out new material. I've been there for 3 years, and but after a while you get the itch to go out and earn some dough. So it's a wonderful place to work. So I'm hoping to get out a little more. I work a couple of dates in Baltimore with Tony Orlando. That's an interesting. Tony Orlando, you wouldn't think he gets an older audience, you know? You open the auditorium and you don't smell popcorn and you smell Vicks, so you know that it's going to have hymns on the Muzak that they have to turn down before the show starts. But I could always go back to local broadcasting.
Yeah.
I did a lot of that.
Newscaster? Or,
yeah.
Right.
We used to have, it was the local eyewitness news team, and my favorite part of the broadcasting day was always the station editorials. Because you got to remember one thing, you can't be very controversial.
Yeah.
They always pretend to be so controversial, but they never can. Secondly, it gives the station manager the opportunity that he doesn't often get of coming on TV. And so this guy would come out, and he always looked good, had on about a $4 suit and an $8 toupee, you know, and made out of the same stuff. And this guy would come out and he'd say something like, Channel 13 would like to take this opportunity to say that we are diametrically opposed to the practice of using orphans as yardage markers at driving ranges. We're just...
You can't fault a man like that.
You really can't.
I have a feeling from your shot on this show tonight, you're going to be working a lot outside the Comedy Store.
Thank you.
Really, I hope you come back with us.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. How many of you folks here have never been to a TV studio before? Applaud if you've never been to one of these studios. Okay. How many of you have been here before? Applaud if you have been here before. Okay. All right, now how many of you who have never been here before? Back into the United States, I was in Canada, and I flew back a couple of days ago. I flew one of those bargain flights, $99 one way, and literally no bargain. You know, it's hundreds of drooling indigents fighting over tubs of gruel in the aisle of the plane. And immigrants and people who haven't been vaccinated looking over bad fruit and stuff. So I get up and I go to the lavatory of the aircraft, and there's this enormous sign above the toilet that says, do not place metal or glass objects in the toilet. You know, that always ruins a trip for me. I like to go back there, wash a load of dishes in it, you know. So. Now, here's something you...
We're back. Thank you, Tom. We're talking to Ellen Burstyn and Jim Garner. My next guest is a young performer, a comedian who was a regular on the recent Mary Tyler Moore variety series. He appears regularly here in town at the Comedy Store, and will be hosting the Rose Bowl Parade for television on the 1st of January. Would you welcome, please, David Letterman. David?
Today are here with somebody who has been here before. Applaud. Okay, now, listen carefully. This gets a little confusing at this point. How many of you out of that last group are in this country illegally? Could we just hear? Great, fine. Looking for yard work, I'll bet. Well, nice to have you here. I just got